blocking and sanding and priming and cleaning the paint gun and masking and cleaning the shop and just primer videos. Alright guys, back at the shop once again, and so I honestly didn't expect these doors to need that much blocking on them in the last video where I actually primed these side skirts and stuff. So I'm almost a little scared of the car, just to kind of see what that is. I had some weird stuff kind of go on right here on the trunk. Let's see if that'll, yeah, look at that. And so I think this car sat underneath one of the other cars for a little while on the lift, and it basically got some oil on the trunk and the roof and maybe the hood or something like that. And I think that kind of affected it like that. So maybe that was some of that. Yeah, I guess goal for today is going to be blocking this thing, and you might run over to DNS before the end of the video and pick out the color, and probably get this thing one more quick little primer, and kind of see where it lands. So I'm stoked to actually kind of get this thing kind of running again. I went ahead and ordered a couple little parts off of eBay. And my buddy Nick, he owns Creative Auto, which is a local automotive accessory shop down here. And he had a little, like a 4-door Honda Civic that was his daily for a little while. It ended up getting stolen, and then, you know, they kind of broke a bunch of stuff in it. So he ended up getting like a Focus ST. And so he was getting ready to kind of do a little revamp on it. And he had a brand new bumper laying around. So I was like, hey, let me get that. So he did. So I appreciate that. I'm stoked to not have to deal with that bumper or that bumper over there, because that was stupid. So I'm going to start the blocking process. Hopefully you guys enjoyed kind of a little bit more of showing the details on the last one. I've done that a lot in these videos. You know, I mean, I probably have a world record of like freaking primer videos on YouTube, but I hope you guys don't mind me kind of like showing a little bit how-to stuff here and there. If I'm not doing that, I feel like there's no point in me even filming these frickin' primer videos. I don't know, like, it's just, I feel like the primer is like the same thing on every car. It's like you just do it and there it is, and you do it and there it is. I don't know, like, and that's why there's so many frickin' primer videos, is because I like stuff to turn out nice, and you frickin' need the primer. So if you guys like primer, be sure to smash that thumbs up button, and we're gonna block. We're gonna start the freaking block. Decided to go ahead and block the trunk with an 80 grit instead of the 180. Kind of what happens with the 180 is it just seems to clog the paper just too quick, and you don't end up like blocking the car at all. It just kind of, you just get pissed at the paper and you just sit there all day, like, you know, clearing the paper out. So I went ahead and threw on some 80 grit on this 9-inch block right here, and basically went ahead and blocked the whole thing. Found a couple little like lowish spots, and there was enough primer there. I was able to block them out. So now the second part of that is, so I basically blocked everything with 80, wiped it down, and then went ahead threw some more guide coat on it, and then now I'm hitting it with 180. So since there still is primer on here and filler, so it's still soft, so there's no reason to necessarily like high build it just to get rid of the 80 grit scratch, when I could go ahead guide coat it and then sand out the 80 grit scratch out of the primer that's already there. So that's what I'm doing. So you can see right here, there we go. That's basically an 80 grit scratch right there. So 80 grit is isn't really like super aggressive, but I mean it is, but it isn't. It's at that point to where it cuts, and you could kind of see an example of it right there. See how it almost like cuts it and kind of tears it? So you still need the 180 grit on top of that because it kind of smooths stuff out. But this right here was actually a low spot, but there was kind of enough primer around it to kind of get it down. And same thing with, there's another spot, I think it was right there. And no, maybe it was this one. I don't know, something like that. But again, I'm glad that I actually went ahead and did the 80 grit on here. And so I'm probably just gonna go ahead and do 80 on the whole car, and we'll just go ahead and prime it by the end of the night. Again, that 1 hour primer or whatever should be good. And hopefully what we'll do tomorrow is final block it and hopefully get it ready for paint. So that's kind of the plan. I guess commence more blocking out all this 80 grit scratch on the trunk, and then basically the whole freaking car. I'm probably gonna go ahead and do the doors again real quick. Just because I do like how the 80 actually cuts it and actually blocks it, versus kind of this. I feel like it almost kind of end up rounding things out. So we don't want a round car, we want a straight car. I've had so many people like hey, like, how much to paint a car? Who painted your Supra? I'm like, nope, you can't pay me enough. And that's because things like this. So, I mean, it's funny because running your hand across the top of this, you literally cannot feel a lot of these things. Like that one right there is pretty gradual, and it's actually not that deep, but you could definitely feel that freaking low spot, or you could see it now. Running your hand across it, especially since it's kind of in the middle, you're kind of like, you know, I don't know if I could tell, but you can see a little low spot here, a little bit low right there, where that was almost high a little bit. That's a little low, and you can see there's another. That one's probably a little deep. So again, glad I'm using the 80 grit. I don't think I actually did 80 grit on the whole car. Maybe I did. But I basically did that file sander, the air file or whatever. I used that, so that is probably why I didn't feel some of that stuff or didn't really pay attention. And again, getting something in primer, because this is basically how I got the car. So it had already been blocked, it had already been sanded. So you kind of have to assume that hopefully it was getting straight. And you know, obviously the roof that wasn't. So we gonna go ahead and keep blocking on this. I'm gonna block these as far as I could go. I guess another point I need to touch on in the back is that you don't have to sand, how I was talking about doing the 80 and then sanding out the 80 grit scratches with the 180. You don't have to take those 100% out. There's just no reason, I guess, not to knock them down essentially with the 180 while you're there, so that way your primer doesn't have to do as much work, and then that kind of gives you less, hopefully less chances in the future of it actually kind of shrinking back on you. Because I don't care who you are, if you paint a car within like a week, you're probably going to get some freaking sand scratches on it that shrink back a little bit later. I mean, probably if you're body shop and you use like heat lamps and, you know, the correct stuff like that. But in my experience, that's why the Supra sat for so long. I mean, that's not the only reason the Supra sat, but that is one of the reasons. Is, you know, it's just nice to let that primer cure and fully cure up. And the Supra doesn't have any like shrinking sand scratches or anything. But like on my drift car, we painted that in 4 or 5 days, and that thing, like on the roof, we did a lot of body work on the roof, you know, with aggressive filler and sanding techniques with like 36 grit, and, you know, lots of primer, and there is little sand scratches that kind of they kind of shrink back later. And that's another reason why you don't ever want to use like a lacquer primer or a lacquer, like lacquer paint, because they do shrink over time. So sorry about that little spiel. We're gonna keep blocking this freaking thing, and we're gonna make this thing straight. I might have to whip out the icing and kind of ice it a little bit, but again, we are gonna prime this whole car again tonight. I don't think I'm gonna mess with blocking and doing this stuff again. I just want to get the car solid, because if I could get the car solid, I could paint it, and I could paint this stuff afterwards, which is kind of the plan anyhow, because there's not an insane amount of room in that tent over there. So I got a little distracted, and I went ahead and did a live stream on Instagram, and basically I blocked the rest of this roof. There was that low spot right there, and so went ahead, blocked it out. You can see I was kind of getting to the primer and to the metal in a couple, or to the lower stages of primer. So I was like, okay, we'll add a little bit of icing. Same thing with this right here, but everything else blocked out really nice. So yeah, I freaking live streamed on Instagram for like an hour, which was probably too long, and then I added a couple people in there. So if you guys do not follow me on Instagram, you guys are freaking slacking, because I release behind the scenes footage, stuff before videos are released, stuff when I'm releasing videos, and when I buy freaking secret cars, which the guys on Instagram know about. They know that I got a car. You guys, I guess, know now. There's some parts in the tent over there. Big boxes of parts, brand new OEM parts straight from the dealer. So we got a pretty cool build coming up, so stay tuned. It has to stay secret for now, though. I'm hiding it from you guys, but I will tease you a little bit on Instagram. The other thing I've been kind of doing is like adding people in on the live streams on Instagram. That was one thing that Tommy F. Yeah in Florida he was doing, and at first I thought it would be kind of weird, like adding people to live stream. I was like, man, this would be awkward, but I kind of like give you guys challenges, or if you guys say something like weird in the thing, I like call you out. I'm like, all right, let's see it. So I think that's really rad. I think that's kind of a fun little thing to do. But I'm gonna try to do that a little bit more often. I think I might try to do some like live stream stuff on YouTube maybe once a week, and maybe go live on Instagram like once a day, or I don't know, something like that. But I'm gonna finish blocking. I gotta block that, block this, and then we'll see how far we get. Alright, so I finished blocking the hood. There's one little low spot right there, but I don't think I'm really going to worry about that right now. I think the next primer bit will take care of it. Everything else looks really, really solid. So what I went ahead and did is the camera died on the time lapse, so I'm not sure what you guys seen up to, but basically finished blocking the hood with 80, then went ahead and grabbed the DA and DA basically the whole car, trying to keep it basically as flat as I could, and then kind of rounding it around the corners and stuff. So I did that with 220 grit just to kind of knock down that 80 grit scratch, and just definitely running your hand over it. It just feels really, really smooth now versus the 80 grit. You can kind of feel it kind of grabbing you a little bit. So I went ahead and swept up the floor, went ahead and threw some water down as well, just to kind of grab some of the dust. But this is how much freaking, that's all primer right there. That's literally primer and a little bit of filler. But I sanded, or I basically, I swept the whole floor and wet it down before I primed this car. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is freaking a lot of primer dust, which is crazy because there's still dust everywhere. And that was basically just this little section right here. So that stuff is super fine. It's like baby powder. But yeah, so man, I don't know. It's about 3:30 in the morning, and I decided that probably just gonna come back tomorrow and prime this thing. I'm gonna run home, grab a super quick shower, and try to be in bed by 4. I need to get my schedule kind of back under control. But yeah, we're getting freaking close. This thing should be super straight. There's just gonna be a couple little edges, like sometimes like right here. Like that could be like a little gouge, just because the 80 is pretty aggressive. So we will hit it with primer, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. So stay tuned. Alright guys, so Brandon came over for a minute, and he actually brought this with him. This is a different style of body filler block, and I actually really like that one. This was actually a 3M piece versus the Durablock. The Durablock, you're kind of gripping onto it the whole time with your hand, whereas this thing, you can kind of set it on there and kind of push. So it's a little bit less fatigue, and I feel like that one actually stays a little bit flatter, whereas the Durablock, you can kind of move it a little bit and kind of bend it, which is good in certain circumstances and not in other ones. So I went ahead and blocked this door down with the 80 grit just because I did not do that the other night. I did it with 180, and I should have been doing it with 80, but a good thing I went ahead and threw some more primer on it, and you know, we got it pretty straight with the 180, but it was just nice. You can see a couple little spots like that was a high spot that got taken down. A couple little spots like that. There was a couple low places, and overall they just leveled out a lot better. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and it's freaking time. So I'm gonna double check the masking on this thing, and actually probably remask a couple areas of it, get this thing wiped down, wipe down these doors, and go ahead and prime the car one more time. So hopefully, crossing our fingers, this is the last time that we prime it, because after that we should just be able to wet sand it and then throw it in the booth, and we'll freaking get to spraying this thing whatever color it may be. Alright guys, so car is fully primed. Again, we got 2 solid coats on this thing, and I freaking hope that this is the last time we have to prime this thing. As much as you guys freaking love primer videos, I hate making them. Just like literally the amount of work that goes into like blocking and sanding and priming and cleaning the paint gun and masking and cleaning the shop, and just a whole bunch of stuff. I wish I could just do like some talking videos like Tommy F. Yeah or something like that. Man, my whole life would just be easy. But yeah, that's it's gonna be it for now. We're gonna be back here tomorrow. I want to freaking paint this damn thing already. That's what I need to do. I need to paint it and just get her freaking done. Cause I got other things. I got bigger, better freaking things, and I feel like this thing's just kind of holding me back. And I know you guys could probably like see and feel that too, because it's like, man. And the other thing is, like, everybody keeps, or, you know, I talk to people around me, and I'm like, damn, like this freaking Civic's taking long. And they're like, why are you spending so much time like making it so nice? You know, like blocking it and priming it, blocking it, and priming it, blocking it, priming it, and then like making sure it's nice. And I'm like, well, shit, like. There's like one way to paint well, there's two ways to paint. Shitty paint jobs where you don't care at all, or good paint jobs where you care. And it's hard to blend in between and like pick and choose like what you're gonna care about it. So it's, again, like that almost perfectionist mindset. Like it's a really good excuse to just not do anything because you're like, well, I don't want to do it because it's just gonna take me like this amount of time. So I'm gonna quit rambling. See you guys later.